Hello everyone. Today I want to give you a quick overview of a few features that are included in the Power Automate 2020 Release Wave 1. Key investment areas for this release are user experience improvements that will help you use dynamic content, actions, and expressions in your flows. Teams integration enhancements, including triggering flows directly from Teams messages. UI or user interface flow improvements so you can automate applications that don't have APIs. And finally, combining business process flows with instant flows to automate more complex business processes. Well, let's see how this all works. We'll start with a very simple instant flow with a manual trigger and a compose action. So let's start typing. My city is. And then we click on the Add Dynamic Value to open the new Dynamic Content panel. Now, a couple really important things to notice here. If you've ever tried to insert content into a string like this, you'll appreciate that you now have a pointer showing where the dynamic content will be inserted. A quick search, and we not only have our dynamic content, we also now have the ABC tag to show us that city is a text string. And below it, you see a sample of the data so that you can understand how it's formatted. We also have the dynamic content organized by the actions that are contributing to our search results, in this case, manual. And we can hide all the content from that action if it's clogging our view. That doesn't look like much in this flow. But just wait until you're trying to add dynamic content into a long expression in a flow with dozens of actions. Now, let's send an email. Notice that the most common actions now show up at the top of our list, and then it shifts to alphabetical. And there are new features here in the action as well. As you'd expect, as soon as you start typing a name, it brings up your contacts. But it can also work with dynamic content. If you switch to advanced mode, you can get to your dynamic content, which gives us your user email. Let's go back to our original flow and try an expression. Historically, expressions were an issue as you needed to manually click OK to save, and you couldn't save an incomplete expression. Well, now, expressions are a lot more forgiving. As soon as you start typing, you see the expressions that are available. And you get help as soon as you select the one you want. Another great new feature is that you can save at any time, even if your expression is incomplete or in error. Although you will see the expression in red showing that it's not quite right. The result of these changes is that you will be able to more accurately and efficiently add dynamic content, actions, and expressions to your flows. We listen to our customers, and we're continually improving the user experience. You are welcome to try out our experimental features option to see and comment on changes that we're considering for Power Automate. To do this, go to Settings and turn on the experimental features option. But remember, this is experimental, so features might change, break, or disappear at any time. And after they've been tried in experimental mode for a while, the best features go into preview mode, where you can test them in a pre-production environment. And finally, after the bugs are worked out, we release to GA or general availability. And at this point, the old version of the designer will no longer be available. Now let's look at some of the Power Automate and Teams productivity enhancements. One improvement is that you can now trigger a flow from a Teams message. In Teams, this is called adding a custom message action. And this is great for scenarios like creating an Azure DevOps work item from a message or saving a message to OneNote for later review. Let's set up the DevOps work item. Here are the new Teams triggers that we're releasing and a link for you to request any that you think we're missing. In the trigger, we're given the option to create a form using an adaptive card. When we select it, we get a sample that we can quickly edit. including the ID for the dynamic content that we're creating. So here's our form. We'll add an Azure DevOps action to create a work item. And with dynamic content, we can quickly fill in the fields to create a task item. In the description, we'll not only enter the description from our form, but also the plain text message content, and a link back to the message in Teams so that people can see the message that led to this task in context. We recommend that most flows have a feedback mechanism to let the right people know what the flow just did. So we'll add a message from the Flowbot explaining that a new Azure DevOps task was created from a Teams message. And finally, we'll name this flow and then include the name in the feedback message. Let's test this out from Teams. Here we have a message that Diego has completed a review pass. So we select the ellipses inside the message. And there's our flow, which launches our form. So we hit submit. The flow runs and sends our card. And here's the task in Azure DevOps, with all of the dynamic content, including the link back to the message. This same integration with Teams would also allow you to use a message to create an item in OneNote or an email or whatever makes sense to you. You can easily build automation from documents, cloud services, and anything with an API. But what about those tasks that you do that are almost manual? With user interface or UI automation, you can now automate legacy apps, whether they're on the web, in Windows, or even terminal apps. And you then connect your UI flow to a business process flow to run them as attended or unattended automations. Let's see how this works with a Contoso invoicing app. We'll start by setting up a gateway to the application that we want to automate. We then go to Power Automate and verify our gateways. Go to My Flows and select UI Flows to create a UI flow. You then follow these general steps that I'll skip through quickly. You set up inputs, record and edit the steps that you want to automate, including screenshots so you can come back later and verify your actions. And as you test it, include screenshots so that you also know the results, as you won't be there to review them. We've already created the UI flow, so let's test it. And here you can see it's working and bringing us the Contoso invoice data. Well, now we need a way to trigger this UI flow, so we'll add our UI flow to this business automation flow. We select our UI flow and select our gateway. But if we didn't have a gateway, we could add it here. But we're already covered. And here you can see the credentials that were used to log into that machine. Now we can run the UI flow as either attended or unattended. Attended automations are typically used for personal on-demand actions like receptionist-initiated check-in process or a call center agent acceleration, while unattended automations are typically used to automate company processes at scale, like invoice processing or Excel to PowerPoint reports sent out every Sunday night. We'll select unattended. So we go back to the details page and run it. You can see that it's running. And if we click on it, we see that the API flow has opened a session on the machine's OS under the user's name. It's now executing the UI flow, and it will close the session when completed. We can also go to the Gateway tab and see that it's running. And there it's finished. And if we dive in, here at the bottom, we can see the connection and the gateway that was used. Click on the gateway name and we're back at the gateway screen. So you can see that all of these dashboards are connected. If there's an error like this flow that failed, you see the error detail here and here. In this case, the user was already logged into the target machine. We think you'll find the improvements to our UI flows extremely helpful with your legacy applications. With this release, you can also combine business process flow and an instant flow so they work together. For this scenario, we'll start with a business process flow that supports seller giving custom discounts to customers. And we'll add in an instant flow that asks for approval by email from the seller's manager. First, let's see it in action. We have a 3-stage business process flow here. First, enter the customer and product details. Then we move to the next stage, which is the discount. As the customer is asking for a higher than standard discount, we'll trigger our instant flow to get approval, which kicks off an approval request that the sales management team sees on their list of requests. They can approve it from here or by email. The seller then goes to the business process flow for customer Megan, and they can see that the flow has succeeded. So we go to the next stage and place the order, which is the end of our process. Well, now let's see how to set this all up. We start on the Create page and select Business Process Flow. Enter the name, and we want to create a standalone business process flow. So we select a new option of None or Immersive Business Process. And with a little work in the Business Process Flow Designer, we have our business process flow with 3 stages: order details, discounts, and confirmation. To create the instant flow inside of the business process flow, we must start in Solutions. And this is where you would create an instant flow from any of these options. But for this demo, we'll select the default solution. And we'll use the approved discretionary discount flow that we've already created. This flow sends an approval request and waits for a response. After receiving the response, it then updates the business process flow. Now we go into our business process flow and select our approved discretionary discount and select Apply. So now you've seen how to create a business process flow for sellers that records orders with an instant flow inside of it that requests discount approvals from sales managers. As you've seen, the 2020 Release Wave 1 update of Power Automate provides you with user experience improvements that will help you use dynamic content, actions, and expressions in your flows. And you know how to try out our Power Automate experimental features. You've also seen the new Teams integration enhancements, including triggering flows directly from Teams messages, and UI flow improvements that help you automate applications that don't have APIs. And finally, how to combine business process flows with instant flows to automate more complex business processes. Well, for more information, use these specific links or go to the Release Overview Guide.